Hey, everybody. Okay, so let's talk common misunderstandings in recovery. We've all thought about that, like, hey, what do we do here? Just stop the behavior and how that's not quite enough. So we're going to talk a little bit about real recovery, is about who we're becoming, and a little bit about behavior and emotional growth. Let's jump into it.
Welcome to Beyond the Facade podcast. I'm your host, Luke Gordon, and I'm thrilled to have you join me in this space today. What we're going to be doing is diving deep into the trials and triumphs and truths of seeking authenticity. Becoming your true self isn't about a single action or moment. It's a relentless pursuit, a commitment to self that reveals the rich connection and meaning that our life has to offer. So whether this is your first time tuning in or you're a regular listener, know this: what you're building here goes beyond a conversation. You're here to challenge, to change, and to celebrate the incredible journey of becoming your authentic self. Because when you dare to show up fully, the rewards are immeasurable. So welcome to Beyond the Facade. Let's get started.
Welcome to the podcast. As always, we got a guest here that sometimes doesn't feel like so much of a guest because she's here often and everybody loves it when she shows up. Anyway, that's the feedback that we get. Alana is here with us, and we are going to talk about red flags and green flags in recovery. Let's jump right into it. I remember Alana in the beginning of the journey going to some type of recovery group, and people would say, my name's so-and-so and I'm in recovery. And I'd be like, what does that mean? And then it was around a little bit longer, and I'm like, what's that word used for? I think I know what it's used for. I think sometimes that word can be weaponized, and it can be, hey, what is it? But let's do some defining today. And we're going to define it in saying, okay, green flags, like this represents recovery, and then red flags, what it isn't. And the goal here is to help both the betrayed partner and the person who's seeking recovery be able to see the differences from like surface level recovery and authentic recovery. Alana, anything before we jump into this?
Yeah, I just love what you said there when you're talking about even like authentic recovery versus surface level recovery, or am I in recovery or am I not? A lot of times I see this really black and white thinking and people asking like, okay, am I in recovery or not? Is my partner in recovery or not? Or look, I'm in recovery, but then there's still all these behaviors that are happening that don't show recovery. But then we could also go, there's all these behaviors that are. And so we tend to take recovery and we put it in two boxes. I'm in or I'm out. And first of all, can we just lay that down? That in recovery, out of recovery, that black and white thinking isn't always helpful because there's so many layers and levels and pieces to what healing looks like. And I don't typically see somebody being able to tackle all the boxes and all the pieces at once. And so I might even just start by saying, can we throw away the term in recovery and open it up more to something that's a little more nuanced and gray of, I like the term, I am working my recovery, because that allows for a journey and for a process. I had a couple come in one time and there was substance abuse addiction, and one partner really wanted to adopt some of what I'm talking about. The other partner was like, they were free from substance abuse. So they're like, no, I am in recovery. I am free from abusing the substance, and therefore I'm in recovery. And I just want to say, when we're talking about infidelity, when we're talking about these emotional, behavioral, and psychological type addiction behaviors, we just have to be way more nuanced with it.
Yeah. And just notice why I'm saying it, because the person did the betraying. What is my intent? And I want to just be really careful that we say, am I working recovery, is in what's my behavior and not who am I? So like, I am in recovery, which that's like a statement about identity compared to this is the process I'm working. This is my behavior. So yeah, I think today we're going to be bringing up some things. If it's a red flag, it could be uncomfortable if you're looking at your partner or thinking about yourself, and there's some green flags. Maybe just notice that discomfort and go, all right, rather than running to any type of ego or any type of fear, I'm just going to notice and what are some patterns that I didn't notice before. So the first one we're going to go to on green flag versus red flags is honesty and transparency. Okay, so that's the category. Okay. Green flag, here I'm going to give you a few of them. This is around honesty and transparency. This is more than not lying. So we might say green flag is not lying, but it's learning to live in truth. So it's a process of going, all right, I need to find what truth is because I'm coming out of denial, of a place where I've compartmentalized. And green flag behavior is somebody that's going through and identifying levels of denial that they've been in to be able to share truth. So it's more than just, I'm not going to lie anymore, as in, my process to find where I'm lying, find where I'm deceiving myself, and to come forward and my partner watches me do that. And coming out of denial, that's a process, because I want to just go like, I'm never going to lie again. And if that's my thoughts, probably I'm missing some stuff.
I love that you said that. And it really does start with the self. Because if you can't be honest with yourself and be real with yourself, then how in the world do you really be honest with another person, especially at the level that a partner is looking for after betrayal? Yeah, it really, and I just think of any 12-step group, step one is really like getting to this place of realizing this is bigger than me, this is unmanageable, and I have to step into truth.
Yep, absolutely. So there are the parts of the green flags with honesty and transparency that have to do with you're willing to just open it up. We did a webinar the other day about betrayal. We compared it to a financial ruin and how you'd come back from financial ruin and you would have to give people exposure to what you've been doing. So a part of honesty and transparency, a green flag, is you're willing to share everything, your accounts, your devices, your schedules. Make sure you posture everything as I have nothing to hide, and be there. And just recognizing that you don't have to come across as like, oh yeah, I don't care, look at anything. No, even if you're living in openness, there still can be a level of discomfort, but that's what I'm going to be doing.
Thank you for talking about the discomfort, because I don't think stepping into honesty after having been in hiding will feel comfortable. It will feel unnatural. And I see a lot of times, and I'm curious if you see this too, Luke, where sometimes people become almost so disconnected, maybe disassociated is a better word. They become so disassociated from the outcome of their choices and so disassociated from the feelings that are uncomfortable that even that kind of blocks truth, it blocks reality. But there's a certain numbness that comes with that. So you don't feel pain. So you do something bad, or you do something that's not in alignment with your values, but you don't actually feel the discomfort of that because you're so numb and disassociated. But when we are starting to step into truth, then we actually are bringing ourselves back online. So then we have to sit with the guilt and sit with the discomfort and sit with the pain of sharing that with somebody else. And so that can be a really uncomfortable process, especially when we've had that part of us really shut down.
Oh, absolutely. I just think about it. We probably talked about on podcasts before when my old boss would call me Muffin, and I would be like, well, she calls everybody Muffin. And I didn't, when you called me out on that, I didn't have a problem with it because I'm like, I completely compartmentalized that, but that's not about me. I'm not doing anything wrong. And when I came into awareness of like, that is completely problematic because I've allowed that behavior, I've let that boundary down, or it didn't exist. And so now it's more of, it felt like to me at the time, more awkwardness, uncomfortableness of things that I need to be, it's something I wasn't aware of before, where I wouldn't bat an eye at it. And we call that the shock stage of the journey, when you're open to things and becoming aware. And we always, as professionals, kind of hope as somebody explores shock that it doesn't scare them back into denial. And the ones that are ready for the work, they'll stay there. They'll stay in the pain, but it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So let's do some red flags here on the honesty and transparency one. Only telling the truth when you get caught. Oh my gosh, right? Like, the truth exists. It's like this spectrum from getting caught to coming forward when your partner has no idea, but isn't aware, like you share. So it's truth telling, but it's not truth telling because somebody had an intuition and they're asking you about it. You're truth telling proactively. So it's a red flag when it's just being caught. And that's the only time truth comes out.
You can cut this out, Luke, if this is too personal. But there was a pattern for a really long time with us where you would get caught with something and then you would come forward and give more information. And then you would say, no, I told you this. I didn't have to
I
tell you.
want credit for it.
Yeah, I told you this. And so I would catch him in maybe like 30% of what happened. And then he would come forward and tell me an additional maybe 60% more. And then he would be like, no, like I'm in recovery or I'm in a really good place. It's not as bad as you think because I didn't have to tell you the rest and I did. Therefore, like I'm being honest. Don't you see I'm being honest? Give me credit for being honest. But that type of truth telling is still extra information, but that truth would have never come out had you not first been caught. And so this was something for a lot of years you and I would get hung up on was I would be going, this doesn't feel like truth. This still feels very passive. And you would be in a place going, no, like it is. See me, I'm telling the truth. And I'll just say, like, moving us out of this, I see this. I see often the person who hasn't been being honest so bad trying to grasp for any straws or anything to stand on. And I see a partner who's just begging for truth and honesty and transparency. And so what you're describing there with this active truth telling isn't part of all of that pattern and that chaos. The active truth telling is coming forward and saying, hey, there's something you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not telling you because I'm caught. I'm not telling you because I have to. I'm telling you because it's in my value system.
Let's talk about what this is tied to. Let's really slow this down because I think it matters. Okay. So I can put myself there. I can feel all the emotions about this. Yeah, we're not cutting this because the friggin' podcast is called Beyond the Facade. So you guys get to see all my stuff. So look at this, guys. Like when Alana says that and she would go, no, you got caught. And I'm like, no, I didn't. What I think in my mind is you wouldn't have the truth unless I showed up and delivered it to you. Like you would only have partial information. So I want her to give me credit, what's that about? Why do I need that? Like, why does that matter? And it's because I need to keep it going inside of my brain what reality looks like, which is some sense of self-respect, like some sense of I'm worthy to be a partner. I can contribute in whatever way it is.
So like a protector part.
And it's absolutely not useful because I'm spending all the time in the world just trying to protect my ego, trying to protect my worthiness, when what makes me actually worthy of being in a relationship is my ability to be able to find new information, to be able to understand at a greater level, to not defend coming from a place of defense. So it's a protection of ego. It's a protection of my reality. So if I come without my partner knowing and saying, hey, let me share with you something you don't already know, it means I'm doing it because it's a value-based decision. I'm doing it because I'm valuing myself and I'm having respect for my partner compared to trying to protect myself. I just think about all the sessions I have with clients and I think about all the sessions I've had, and this theme comes out of, does truth come out on my own behalf or does it come out because of somebody else? Okay, so that's a red flag. Another red flag on the honesty and transparency is minimizing, rationalizing, staying vague, not really getting the details, omissions, half truths. I think that's kind of just more of the same thing we're talking about. Slow us down a lot if you think we need to tackle any of that.
Just the emissions one. For anyone who doesn't know what emissions are, it's leaving out details. And I see a lot of people do this. And sometimes it's very calculated and sometimes it's subconscious. But either way, it's problematic. It's leaving out key pieces of information because you determine that would either be too hard for your spouse or you want to tell them this because this still lets it be in a certain light, but I'm not going to share this. A half truth is still a whole lie. And so really being clear with just what is and not sugarcoating it, not softening it, and just speaking reality and truth.
Thank you. So just to finish out red flags on honesty and transparency part, really Just let it be about denial if it's still active and honesty hasn't become a practice value. And just notice the word practice. Honesty and transparency, it hasn't been my experience. It means I'll actually have to practice and learn how to be real and gain muscles for that. Okay, Alana, should we go to the next one?
Yeah, but can we start with the red flags? Because that's how my brain works.
You like red flags first?
I do.
They're always more fun to talk about unless we're
Well,
talking
maybe
about
it's just that like protective part of my brain of like, tell me the danger first, then tell me what the good parts are.
Yeah, let's transpose it. So as Alana wishes, we will do red flags. Okay. So this one's around sobriety and accountability. Okay. So define accountability. Let's talk about this. Red flags will be white knuckling it. All right. Sobriety without using the tools. So say, hey, let me just think about some weird way to say this. Hey, dude, so how come you haven't acted out for a while? Just doing my thing. Just really don't want to go back to that life. Compared to let me tell you my recovery plan. Let me tell you the details of how I actually stay sober, how I actually don't fall back into behavior. So,
Can I just say, I see a lot in the beginning where individuals are so emotionally hijacked or traumatized themselves by getting caught that it gives sometimes a period of, I don't know if anesthesia is the right word, but like almost a Novocaine to the acting out where they're so worried that, or they're having so many impacts from the acting out that they literally feel like I am never going to act out again. And so they're not doing all of the recovery checklists because they don't feel like they have to, because they really don't feel like they're ever going to go back. Because they're like, that was so bad. I've hurt my partner so much. I'm never going back to that. That at some level is a type of white knuckling it.
It's funny because and I don't know if this is funny. It's my joke, so maybe just people laugh at me because I'm leading the group. But if a guy shows up and I'm like, okay, so accountability, let's talk about your numbers. What's your middle circle numbers? Like, how's the boundaries going? Specifically, how's your outer circle behaviors, which is your self-care? And how's that been going for the last 7 days, the last 30 days? And he reports really low numbers. Like, hey, let me see your knuckles. And I recognize I got enough credit with these guys. I think I do to go that this isn't coming from a shaming place, but they'll look at it like, yeah, those things are a little white, right? And then we can make some jokes around it of like, I'm just hanging on by dear life, but I don't even know because I'm not doing the things that keeps me emotionally okay. We're going to take a quick break for a moment. I want to let you know of some things that we have coming up at Choose Recovery Services. Men, the mask that you wear to protect yourself is the same mask that keeps you from truly connecting. So this September 16th through the 19th in Spanish Fork, Utah, join me and Gene Honeycutt for the Unmasked Men's Intensive. Over 4 powerful days, you're going to explore integrity, uncover the roots of your patterns, and step into true authenticity. Some of our past participants have called it life-changing, finally a safe space to be real, vulnerable, and understood. The spots are going to be limited, so if you're ready to drop the mask and begin living with courage and connection, go to chooserecoveryservices.com and register or book some time for us to talk about this some more. Looking forward to having you be there. Let's get back to our episode. Alana, so I'm going to move on to this next one, but I'm telling you, this one today is going to be the one that I'm most passionate about. And it's because it has the most pain tied to my journey, okay? Because it's still alive and well often today. Okay, so here's a red flag around sobriety and accountability. Selective effort, okay? Picking and choosing the tasks and avoiding the most vulnerable ones. So I gotta tell you, I'm like the master at this. I'll find the stuff that I can find to be valid, that I can make sense of for myself. But the certain tasks that I'm very selective about the effort that I want to put in. And recognizing recovery is not about that. It's not about picking the effort. It's about noticing the treatment that needs to exist and following that one.
Can I give some examples of what that looks like?
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see how this goes, guys.
No, with you. No, I actually see this a lot. And I see this in humans, period. Because the human brain is hardwired, seek pleasure, avoid pain, and do things with the least amount of effort possible. Okay. So those two pieces of avoid pain and do things with the least amount of effort I see people come into recovery and they go, okay, what sounds, and this is not like a conscious, what sounds easiest, but it's like, okay, where do I want to start? What seems like the most like smooth thing for me to do? Least amount of effort and then least amount of pain. How do I get out of pain the fastest? What do I want to do? And multiple times I've heard people who will go and they'll do a really in-depth intake. They get all the assessments and the professional goes, look, based off of your scores, you really need inpatient. And they're like, no, I just can't afford inpatient. And by the way, like, I know inpatient is a stupid amount of money, but they're like, I can't afford to take work off. I can't take this. Okay. But you spending the next 5 years trying to do therapy and trying to get this, and then heaven forbid you have a divorce at the end, which is another $15,000. Had we invested up front and got you the right care and the right help for the level you needed, we could have saved a ton of time and a ton of money. Yet our brain goes, okay, but what's the easier path? What's the simpler path? Me going into debt for an in-person intensive, that doesn't sound like the easy path. I'm going to go somewhere else. Again, like, I get money is an issue. I get we live in a really tough time, and prioritizing your healing, your mental well-being, your mental health pays off in so many dividends if you're willing to invest it. And if your assessments show that's the level of care you need, that's the level of care you need. And so that's a really like big, obvious one. But another big one I see specifically in men, because our culture has taught men that you can just kind of think your way through life and issues. But so many of the men I work with have trauma and they have stuff stored in their nervous system, in their bodies. So they're trying to do all of this cognitive work in their head. And you can only get so far with talk therapy and behavioral therapy. And so they go and do like a meditation and they're like, oh, that was uncomfortable, not doing that. It was uncomfortable because of how much is stored in your body. Or they do a brain spotting and they go, holy, could you swear on your podcast? I was just swear. Well, cover your ears. But they're like, holy, that like the amount of stuff that just unlocked in me, I'm not doing that. Shut that door. And so that right there, because it feels very uncomfortable or very vulnerable or very raw, they shut those doors when that's the exact thing that they actually need to heal.
Yeah. 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 One that it reminds me of was when I wasn't ready for change, going to a group for the first time and just looking around that room and going, these guys are weird. Like these guys are messed up, what they've done, which I was like, if we measured it, like way worse. And I remember when recovery actually came around and I was ready for recovery, therapist brought up group. And I was like, do I gotta? Like, do I really, really have to do that? And can I just say everything in recovery that I really, really didn't want to do was like one of the best things that I could do. And just will try the best I can to negotiate that in my own mind and to other people. And that's a red flag, is being selective about what I choose to do in my recovery rather than leaning into what professionals say.
I thank you for saying that. With like, sometimes, often as humans, what we resist the most is actually what we need. I remember one time doing a meditation group, and there were a couple people in that group who, like, right at the get-go, after like 2 times, they were like, no, I'm not doing this. And knowing their therapeutic journey, they were the ones who needed it the most. But because of the discomfort in doing it, they didn't want to sit through that discomfort. And really notice what you resist. And that could be something pointing you to, this is actually what we might need to be looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being open to it and open. What we do in recovery is go, okay, I am resisting that, instead of pushing it off to the side, pretending like that doesn't matter. Not even necessarily like opting in like right now, but going, why do I have such a strong resistance to that? What's going on?
And then I always want to know what protector parts are being activated.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a really important stuff underneath that. So when we get to it as a question, right? So that's a red flag, selective efforts. Okay. Here's the other one: performing only when pressured. So that's like my gas and motivation comes from people that are making me do stuff, but I don't do it when I'm not being pressured. So I let my foot off the gas. Which, can we just talk about the nuance, right? There is a human experience that comes from that. Like I heard the other day on something put about there's two reasons why people do stuff. They do it because they want to do it, or they do it because they have to do it. And I'm like, people technically only do stuff because they see value in it that they're going to keep up long term. So that's a red flag, which is performing when pressured, and then the lack of consistency.
And I say, if your partner didn't actually care whether you did anything, would you do recovery?
Okay.
What would you do? Because I hear for so many partners them saying, if I don't check in with him regularly, if I'm not asking about this, if I'm not encouraging this, if I'm not, in essence, reaching over and putting my foot on the gas, he won't go anywhere. And I'll just say that's a really painful truth. And for a partner, if there's partners listening to this, if you feel like you have to be the one to do that, that's really uncomfortable information that I want you to hold and see.
You know what's fascinating to me, Alana, is I think about the avoidant attachment styles out there. And would they do it if their partner wasn't saying, hey, you got to do this? The answer is sometimes I think, yes, they would. But they're so hung up on the fact that they think they don't have a choice. They never get around to deciding what they would actually do. So they're performing out of pressure, but because they're only trying to satisfy somebody else. But if they would really do the work to understand why they would do it, they would do it. It would just end up being for the right reason. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, this concept sometimes when therapists or coaches try to teach it to men or people, that the partner sometimes can be really confused and really hurt on this concept because the partner comes forward and says, I need whatever for safety. I need this thing for safety. And there's a lot of things that they need for safety. And so the person who's been acting out is like, okay, I want to make my partner happy. So I have to do this. So I have to do whatever they say for this safety. And while we do want this safety to be created, if it's done without thinking and if it's done without aligning with your own values, that's where it becomes problematic because then you are still, Hope Ray calls it the floating saint, where you still aren't actually being real and authentic. You're just now becoming this other version that they want you to be, and it's still not real. It's still not authentic recovery. And so you're people pleasing. And so while we want to create safety, it's almost a false sense of security and safety because you're not doing it because it's value-based. You're just doing it to elicit a feeling or a response out of your partner. So we do need to take the time to slow down and go, okay, my partner needs this for safety. Yes, I want to do that. I want to create that safety. And I need to understand, is this in my value system? Is it not? Why am I doing it? Yes, I want to do it because it's important to my spouse. That's one of my values. But why am I doing this in my own recovery? Why would I do this? And if I don't know why I would do it, that's a good therapy session to do, to really explore and understand.
Let's think about that for a second. Why are you doing therapy? And because my partner has asked me to do it. And so what's your value there? What's your value? My value is I want to create safety for my partner. Okay. All right. My partner feels safer when I go to therapy. Okay. What also another value exists? My other value is I really value a conflict-free environment, which ultimately what will be underneath that, which is resentment, right? So what hides is actually a deeper level. So I think it's completely appropriate to take action and be very transparent about why you're doing it to create safety, but recognizing that a long-term has to come from inside of me. That's what this red flag is about. All this stuff reveals like recovery, whether it's compliance-based or whether it's wholehearted, whether I do it from an intrinsic place rather than because somebody needs me to do it.
I remember back in the beginning of your journey, you used to use a phrase where you're like, I don't want to be a doormat. I don't want to be a doormat.
Yeah.
And the truth is, I didn't want you to be a doormat. I wanted you to create safety, but I wanted you to do it from a place of authenticity. And so, like, I didn't want a doormat for a husband. I wanted a man who stood in truth and stood in authenticity and valued my healing. And that was a hard place for us to navigate, to figure out, like, how those could both be true.
Yeah. Do you remember saying and almost pleading, not begging or pleading, but really desiring, you're like, just pick something that you want to do. Do it. You make a decision. But you didn't really want to make decisions, but you noticed that I wouldn't make any on my own. And what I would use against you and then this victim type mentality of, I don't have a choice. And you're like, you have choices, but I could use you as like, I don't have choices. She's making me. But really what was it about is I realizing I can make choices, but it was easier to have you do it than it was for me to do it.
And this, I see this happen a lot, where individuals who have been acting out, when they have been caught or when they've come forward, they feel like they have no power, and they buy into that narrative for themselves of like, I have no power. But the reality is you have all the power. You have all the power in your recovery. You have so much power in your relationship, because all of that hidden information is power that you held over your partner. And so this victim stance and victim mentality, I don't play that game, because it is so problematic to your own healing, and it's problematic to the relational healing. So we have to recognize how much power you truly have in your relationship and in your own healing.
And that's scary, because once I realize I have power, that means I have to do something with it, right?
Mm.
To have choice. And yeah. And
Yeah, it's a lot easier to be in victim role.
if that makes sense, y'all, I don't know if that does. I don't think that could have made sense to me for a period of time. I don't know if I was ready for that information, but yeah. Okay.
Can I just say, though, if you're not ready for that information, it's okay. And take that to your coach or therapist, because this, like, at the foundation of relational repair, so much about it is about power and control. And so we really, like, power and control lays at the foundation of a lot of relational struggles. And so this is important enough that you want to hold this in your pocket and figure it out.
Y'all, I'm not ready for that information, just depending on the subject today, right now, which is I have a choice. I'm like, today, right now in my life in different aspects, like that's not something I want to acknowledge. That's why I have therapy on Friday mornings, right? Is to be able to go, this one's carrying a lot of power for you. I'm feeling powerless in this, right? Okay, so check this out, y'all. We have categories. I wanted to share these with you because we're going to put a pause and we're going to come back to this next time because there's a few to go through here.
Wait, you're going to let us at least do our green flags on this, right?
And we didn't do green flags.
No, we can't leave on such a, like, heavy note.
Okay, yeah. Okay, let's talk green flags.
We gotta give some hope and some, this is what it could look like.
I was just following my notes and one was below the other, so I just figured we got that one. Okay, so green flags. So commitment to sobriety from acting out behaviors. So that's like, okay, I'm committed and I have a process. Notice where the commitment's coming from. Using the tools. So there are tools. Those tools can be articulated. The tools can be documented. There are filters. There are accountability partners. There are groups. There is therapy. Those tools are used. Here's another green flag: voluntary disclosure of slips. Okay. This is not about being perfect for the rest of your life. This is about being able to disclose slips. And I'm not talking about big relapses. I'm talking about falling down.
But the little things as well.
All of it, right? It's about falling down. It's about learning from failing, right? It's about coming out of denial. So leaning into accountability.
And when you, in the little things, can be open and honest and transparent, that creates so much more safety in the big things. And when you lie or hide or keep those little things hidden, your partner goes, if I can't trust you in the little things, how in the world do you expect me to trust you in the big things? So I love that you just said, like, that voluntary disclosure of information.
Voluntary. And then here's the last green flag, just the active participation. And I want to use the participation Big difference between I show up in group and I show up in therapy and I go through the motions, or I actively bring what I'm working on. Like I participate, like I call people, I ask questions, I challenge, I ask other people how they're doing. Active participation, right? Not just I'm there to check off a box. I'm there to keep my partner from having a strong reaction if I don't. Okay, so those are the first two. Guys, we have other ones to come. Here's the other categories around green flags, red flags. Boundaries and lifestyle shifts. Some stuff to talk about there. Empathy and attunement. Stuff to talk about there. Authenticity. Love that one. That one's going to be fun. And then consistent connection. That's that part where partners are dying going like, okay, this isn't about you stopping behavior. It's about being connected to me and being consistent in that, being a teammate. And then growth orientation will be another green flag, red flag. So growth overall, long term. So that's what we're going to be coming to later. So we'll put a pin in it for right now. One thing before we leave is we always have some last minute entries to our Unmasked Intensive. I'm always so good because somebody said, I'm going to lean in last minute here and I'm going to attend. And we have
We had a guy one time, literally the night before, bought a plane ticket. Yeah.
I'm so friggin' proud of him. I was so proud of him. Bought plane tickets the night before. And Vanessa from the office is like, hey, he's coming. And he showed up like 5 minutes into it. And he leaned into a bunch of discomfort. And this Unmasked Intensive, it's really about understanding root cause. It's about understanding some of the wounds that existed that created some maladaptive coping mechanisms.
And really, how do I remove the mask? How do I step out of shame? How do I start becoming the man that I really want to be?
Yeah. Yep. And I get to get my hands on you in a professional way and have you here with me and with Jean, and very excited to spend time with those who are going to make it. So, put your recovery first, make an investment. Maybe this is one of these things that if I'll scroll back to my notes here, maybe this is something you had selective effort on. Come be with us and just watch and see what happens. So anyway, we have that going on next week. It's Wednesday through Friday, actually technically Tuesday night through Friday. And looking forward to spending some time with some people. All right, everybody, we'll pick up where we left off next time. It's good spending time with you. See ya.
What I'm going to talk about today is not for everybody. It's for those of you who are in a place where you have done a lot of work and you've done a lot of healing, and you're not really like heavily involved in the betrayal, trauma, and recovery world in the ways that you once were. And you are somebody who is goal-oriented and you want to heal and you want to move forward and you're ready to expand in the next areas of your life. And you have these pieces of you that have done so much healing and so much growing, yet there's still this other part of you that's like longing for more. There's this other part of you that is ready to really explore, like, what's next? Who am I? Where am I headed? What do I want? And really unlocking the woman within. Now, the reason I say that this is not for somebody who's new in recovery is because this intensive that we're doing, this Worthy by Design, is truly for a unique woman. It's for a woman who really is in tune with her emotions. She's self-reflective. She's looking into her soul. She believes in energy and healing and emotions and the value of those, but you're not sure how to step into that next level of your own growth, your own development. This is what Worthy by Design is for. And I will tell you, I am so excited for this intensive. It's not betrayal trauma focused. There will be women there who have gone through betrayal trauma and done their healing. And there'll be other women who have just grown and developed and are ready for this type of healing as well. And you're going to get to spend 3 nights and 4 days with me, myself, Hallie Roderick, who is one of our coaches, Kelly Johnson, who she partners with us here at Choose Recovery. She does what's called soul soma healing. And I don't know what other way to put it other than she has an absolute gift for touching into people's emotions and helping them release, but also educating and learning and teaching. And so I am so excited to partner with her. And then we also have Kelsey Red, who is a former therapist. She is a yoga certified instructor, and she is amazing. If this is speaking to your soul, if you feel that calling, it's going to be soul healing. The location we're doing it at is a beautiful, huge home that we have rented that has a private property with a pond and a heated pool and a walking path. It's tucked up in the mountains. And so you are going to get time for relaxation, time for yourself, time for connection, time for growth and healing. It is going to be truly unique. This is the only one of these intensives that we are doing. So this is not one of like, oh, I hope I can catch it next time. This is the one that we are doing. So again, if you are feeling called to this, if you are interested in it, reach out for more information. You can always jump in and do a free consult with Hallie and learn more about it. If you hear this and you think that is exactly what I want, I need this, and I'm not sure how I'm going to pay for it, Choose Recovery Services for all of our intensives does offer scholarship opportunities. So you can always put in an application and see if that's something that you could get some financial support to do that as well. So I would love to see you at Worthy by Design. If this applies to you, you especially are worthy by design, and it will help you learn how to really tap into that.
Hi, this is Hallie Roderick, and I want to personally invite you to join me and our team for the upcoming Courage to Thrive Intensive happening October 14th through the 17th in beautiful Spanish Fork, Utah. This 4-day experience is designed specifically for women who have experienced betrayal and are ready to take the next courageous steps on their healing journey. Whether you're just beginning to process the pain or you've been navigating this journey for years, this intensive will give you practical tools, supportive guidance, and somatic practices to help you reconnect with your body, set healthy boundaries, and reclaim control over your life. By the end of our time together, you'll leave with a renewed sense of hope, strength, and purpose, ready to step forward with courage and confidence, knowing betrayal no longer defines your life. If you feel called to take this next step, please check the show notes for all the details. I would love to welcome you to this upcoming transformative experience.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. If this is something that you connected with, I'd love to meet with you more and talk about it. So what you can do is go to chooserecoveryservices.com or check the show notes. And there what we can do is set up a quick conversation to meet. Thanks so much for listening to Beyond the Facade, where we unmask the authentic self.